Russia's President Vladimir Putin has accused the U.S. of trying to draw his country into a war in Ukraine. He said America's goal was to use a confrontation as a pretext to impose more sanctions on Russia. Mr. Putin also said the U.S. was ignoring Russia's concerns about the European expansion of NATO, the Western military alliance. The U.S. and its allies accuse Russia of planning to invade Ukraine, something Russia has repeatedly denied. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken tweeted that the U.S. was committed to preventing a conflict that is in no one's interest. In recent weeks Russia has moved about 100,000 troops, equipped with everything from tanks and artillery to ammunition and air power, to Ukraine's border. It comes 8 years after the country annexed Ukraine's southern Crimea peninsula and backed a bloody rebellion in the eastern Donbas region. Moscow in turn accuses the Ukrainian government of failing to implement an international deal to restore peace to the east, where at least 14,000 people have been killed and Russian-backed rebels control swathes of territory. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned on Tuesday that a Russian invasion would not be a war between Ukraine and Russia, this would be a war in Europe, a full-scale one. Speaking after talks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Moscow, Mr. Putin said, "It seems to me that the United States is not so much concerned about the security of Ukraine. But its main task is to contain Russia's development. In this sense Ukraine itself is just a tool to reach this goal." Rivalry between Russia and the U.S., which still possess the world's biggest nuclear arsenals, dates back to the Cold War, 1947-89. Ukraine was then a crucial part of the communist Soviet Union, second only to Russia. Mr. Putin said the U.S. had ignored Moscow's concerns in its response to Russian demands for legally binding security guarantees, including a block on the NATO alliance's further expansion to the east. He suggested that if Ukraine were granted its wish to join NATO, it could drag the other members into a war with Russia. Imagine that Ukraine is a NATO member and a military operation, to regain Crimea, begins, the Russian leader said. What, are we going to fight with NATO? Has anyone thought about this? It seems like they haven't.